Hey, folks, this is your longtime Broncos buddy speaking, the one who's been following the team through the glory days and the tough stretches, living every snap, every practice, and every bit of news out of Denver. We're in this home stretch of the season, and the air is buzzing with anticipation here at Mile High. After that epic overtime win against the Bills, we're hosting the AFC Championship game against the Patriots, something that hasn't happened in 11 years. But look, without Bo Nix running the offense, it leaves me with a mix of excitement and worry. In my view, what's holding things together and giving us a real shot at dreaming about the Super Bowl is this defense that's turned into a wall in the playoffs, along with the special teams that keep making plays when nobody expects it. Let's dive into this honestly, because I'm not one of those guys who just echoes what he hears. I reflect, question, and try to connect the dots to figure out what this really means for the team day in and day out. To start, it gives me the feeling that the team is going through one of those chapters where the Broncos' identity gets redefined. Remember 2015, when the defense carried Peyton Manning to the playoffs and the title? I'm not saying it's the same, but there are echoes of that now. Without Nix, who is growing into the starting QB role, the offense becomes a huge question mark. Jarrett Stidham steps in, and he's got experience, but it's not the same level of mobility or game reading. What catches my attention here is how Vance Joseph, the defensive coordinator, has tweaked the scheme to maximize what we've got going for us. He's not reinventing the wheel, but he's exploiting opponents' weaknesses in a way that makes me wonder, is this sustainable for the rest of the postseason? I could be wrong, but this raises an important doubt about last offseason's planning. Did we prioritize enough depth in the quarterback room? Because injuries happen, and now we're putting that to the test in real time. Talking specifically about the defense, Nick Bonito is the guy who's impressing me the most. He's coming off a streak where his pressures on the QB are consistent, like against the Bills, where he kept up a high level of impact. In my reading, this isn't just luck. It's the result of development we've seen budding in recent seasons. Bonito lines up mostly on the left side, and that could be gold against the Patriots' left tackle, who's shown vulnerabilities lately. Imagine the impact on the field. If he gets sacks or hurries on early downs, it forces May to get rid of the ball quicker, cutting down on the big plays the Pats love. In the short term, for Sunday's game, this could set the tone, turning an offensive matchup into a trench battle. But in the long term, for the roster's future, this makes me question if Bonito becomes a centerpiece for extensions. He's in the best phase of his career, with high marks and pressure metrics, and that could drive up his market value. What I see in this is a chance for the front office to lock in extensions now, before it gets too expensive. Now, tying into the secondary, Yaquan McMillian is flying high. That interception against Josh Allen, it was the kind of play that shifts momentum and sealed the win. In the last few games, he's barely allowing yards, just short receptions that don't hurt. This gives me the sense that he's evolved from a slot corner to a reliable playmaker. I could be wrong, but this raises a doubt. Is Joseph's scheme, with more man-to-man, exposing or better protecting the DBs? Because May shines against zone, but struggles a bit against individual coverage. In my view, Joseph will bet on that, using press man to force mistakes. The practical impact, in the game, it could limit the Pats' receivers, who don't have elite separators. For the roster, it reinforces the need for depth in the secondary. Imagine if McMillian gets hurt. We've seen that in past seasons, when injuries wrecked the unit. And then there's Pat Surtain too, who's a puzzle for me this season. He's not playing badly, far from it, but compared to the elite level he was at before, with injuries getting in the way, his performance leaves me a bit uneasy. After the bye week, I was hoping for a strong comeback, but against the Bills, the allowed passer rating was high. What catches my attention here is how this ties into team patterns. In past playoffs, even against the Bills, we got burned on big plays. Does Surtain need more support, like from the safety? Talanoa Hufanga, in his first season here, is standing out in individual coverages, forcing incompletions. In my reading, he's the kind of addition that balances the secondary. Impact on the field. If Surtain gets back to top form, combined with McMillian and Hufanga, the defense becomes impenetrable against passes. In future planning, this makes me think about managing injuries better, maybe more rotation to preserve stars. But let's go beyond the main defense. What really intrigues me is how special teams have become a pillar. Devin Key is the perfect example of an underdog who fits the Broncos culture. He plays minimal snaps on defense, but on specials, he's everywhere. Kickoffs, punts, field goal blocks, all without penalties. That fumble recovery against the Bills extended the lead at halftime, and it was crucial for OT. I could be wrong, but this gives me the sense that the special teams coordinator, Mike Prefer or whoever's in charge, is building a versatile unit that wins hidden games. The practical impact. In a matchup like this, where the offense is limited without Nix, good field positions from returns or solid coverage give Stidham more chances for sustained drives. In the long term, this influences the draft, prioritizing multi-use athletes, like safeties who play specials, to keep the roster efficient, reflecting deeper, connecting to past games. Think about the regular season. When we were fighting for consistency, the defense had ups and downs, but in the playoffs, it clicked. This raises an important doubt. Is it the opponent or our adjustments? Against the Bills, we stole possessions. Now against the Pats, we need to repeat. May is talented, with great vision, but vulnerable to pressure. In my view, Bonito and company get him out of the pocket. The game swings our way. But what about the offense? Stidham needs an offensive line that protects, and the run game has to work. Remember the loss to the Chiefs mid-season? Stagnant offense. This makes me question decisions like not investing more in RBs or OL depth. Consequences? In the short term, risk of turnovers if Stidham gets pressured. In the long term, it could force trades or offense-focused drafts, expanding to the roster as a whole. What I see in this is a resilient but fragile team. Without Nix, we're relying on unlikely heroes like Key or McMillian. This catches my attention about how Sean Payton, as head coach, is managing egos and motivation. I could be wrong, but it seems like he's fostering a next man up mentality. Impact on the future. If we get past the Pats, it validates the rebuild, but a loss exposes holes at QB. For planning, maybe speed up backup development or free agents. And the fans? We're optimistic, but grounded. Remember 2016 post-Manning? Transitions hurt. Now, thinking about scenarios, if the defense manages to limit May's passing game, and special teams force a turnover, we win a close one. But if the offense doesn't convert third downs, it tires out the defense. This raises a doubt. Does Stidham have the intangibles for playoffs? In my reading, he could surprise with play actions, but he needs protection. Connecting to patterns. In recent years, Broncos lose when the offense doesn't sustain. Practical impact. For the Super Bowl, against whoever, say the Ravens, or who advances, the defense is up to it, but the offense needs to step up. Stretching it a bit further, what intrigues me is the mental aspect. Hosting the AFC Championship after years is pressure, but also a boost. The crowd at Empower Field can be the 12th man. I could be wrong, but this gives me the sense that the team is united, like in locker room reports. Consequences. In the short term, it motivates. In the long term, it builds legacy. And the young guys like Bonito, they gain invaluable experience. Reflecting on the whole thing, all this leaves me with cautious optimism. The defense can carry us. Special teams make the difference. But without Nix, it's an uphill battle. What I see in this is a character test for the team. Real impacts on the field. Perfect execution. In the roster, valuing underdogs. In the future, guiding decisions. And you all, folks, do you think this defense takes us to the Super Bowl? Or is the offense without Nix our Achilles heel? Share in the comments. Let's swap ideas. Rooting for the Broncos is all about this collective journey. See you next time.